This is Langthoughts, episode 1.5. I would like to first apologize for the fact that my first video got cut off. There was a mistake in the editing process. I will try to re-upload the full video later, but I will upload the full video later if I can find the edits, but I would like to focus our discussion on something I brought up in the first episode, namely English pronouns and case. First of all, it's not really true that English pronouns are the only part of English that have case. Almost every noun has a genitive case. For example, the cat's food. The cat, the s at the end, or the s, is a morpheme, a part of the most unbreakable part of the word. We will discuss morphemes later. That indicates that cat is in the genitive case, like the cat is the owner of something. That the cat is the owner of the food. Same thing, the dog's bone, the man's hair, the woman's book, the book's pages. That the books in the book's pages is in the genitive case. And yes, it's confusing. It's confusing that in that phrase, there's two things that are followed by an s that sound the same, but one is a plural marker, and the other is marker of the genitive case. One is a case marker, and the other is the plural marker. But about the pronouns, first of all, we have to define our terms about English. A lot of people will call Shakespeare Old English, but that's not true. Old English is unintelligible to any speaker of modern English. I'm going to read the first 3 lines of Beowulf. Chwet we gardena in jar dagum the kuninga thrun ye thrunon Huva Effelingas Ellen Fremedon. You can see I had difficulty reading it because I was sure that no English speaker, unless they were trained in Old English, could understand what I was saying. It sounded like a foreign language, almost German mixed with some type of Scandinavian language. And it actually translates to, listen, we of the Speardanes and days of yore, of those clan kings, heard of their glory, how those nobles performed courageous deeds. Obviously, what I just read from the Old English text sounds nothing like its rendering. It has to be translated. We should also look at Middle English. Middle English is English after the Norman invasion, after William the Conqueror, until the modern period, which is around Shakespeare's time. Shakespeare was early modern English. Old English was from the Anglo-Saxons invading from the mainland and pushing out the Celts and establishing their own Germanic language with some Norse influence from Norsemen speaking a North Germanic language, while English is West Germanic. There were some Norse invaders, so Old English had some Norse influence. And in fact, if you go back to Old Germanic, skirt and shirt are the same word. It's just that Old English speakers borrowed the word skirt to mean something specific, and the word shirt changed to be something specific. And And by that time in Old English, the consonant cluster ska had become the singular phoneme sha. So, but it hadn't in Old Norse. So we have shirt and skirt. But anyway, back to Middle English. After the Norman invasion, when the French began to plant its seeds in England's soil, I will read the first 4 lines of the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. One thought April with his chorus sota. The drochte of March hath pierced to the rota, and bathed every vein in switch liquor, of which virtue engendered is the floor. Now, you may recognize some words from that, but it's clearly not any dialect of English that's mutually comprehensible with any dialect of English that's spoken today. Some will disagree. But it means when April with its sweet-smelling showers has pierced the drought of March to the root, and bathed every vein of the plants in such liquid, by which powers the flower is created. Obviously very different. But Middle English started at the end, around the time of Henry VIII. The Tudor period, maybe Henry VII, the Tudor period, and the English Reformation. So, now we have to get that out of the way first so I can explain English pronouns. Now, back in Old English, English had actually three genders on its pronouns that acted like the same as they do in German. That an animate object could be a he or she, and not just it. But through the process of Middle English to Modern English, the gender system got dropped under the influence of French, which had dropped its descent from Latin. Now, the English in the early modern English period, the period of Shakespeare that Shakespeare was writing, the period of the English Reformation, the system of English pronouns, personal pronouns, was very regular. Every pronoun had, every person, first, second, and third, had a singular and a plural. And also had the 3 cases we find in modern English, in New Modern English: the nominative, the oblique, and the genitive. And so what we find is, and I'm going to pronounce them like modern English, even though that's not totally sure, because we're going in the middle of something called the Great Vowel Shift. That might be a topic for another video. But basically, so for the first person singular pronoun, you had, like in English, for the nominative case, you would have I. In the oblique case, like in modern English, you would say me or me. You would say me. In the genitive case, you would say my or mine. There was a slight difference in that at that point, but I'm not going to. This is not really the point of this video. For the plural, you have, like in English, I'm not going to give you the names of the cases again. We, us, our. In for the second person singular and informal, thou, thee, and thy or thine, which might surprise some people because they seem formal, but the fact is that that's only because of the pedigree of them, because we've lost them in modern English. And so when we look at Shakespeare, we say, oh, that's formal English. Also, the King James Bible has had a lot to do with that, because it was considered improper in Christian circles in languages that have this distinction called the TV distinction, based on the French words "tu vous," that mean the first person intimate pronoun, second person intimate singular singular pronoun, or first person plural or respectful pronoun. That addressing God, you could only do it intimately. You were praying to God, you had to address him intimately. So actually, it's not more respectful to use the thou series. And then we find again in the three cases in the second person plural or respectful, which in English has become the general second person pronoun, though some dialects use y'all or use as a plural. You, this is the same in the oblique, and your, Y-O-U-R for the genitive, and in the third person pronoun, we for the singular, we find also we find the gender distinction that was originally in Old English, but was lost in the process of Middle English becoming Modern English. So for a male, you would say he, him, his. For a woman, you would say, or a girl, you would say she, her, or her oblique and genitive is the same. Oblique and genitive is the same. And it and its, where the nominative, the truth, and the oblique are the same. And then for the plural, the third person, we have they, them, and their. Their.